Hello there everybody and welcome back to An Ecologist Plays Grounded, where we are exploring the miniaturized world and learning a little bit about nature as we go along. Now we are back here at the lake house that I showed you last time, and there has been some changes. Now if we go in here, the first change you'll see is that we have a little bit of a kitchen over here. We've got a smoothie station and a cookery that we will be using as we go along. We also have a simple bed over here made from crow feathers, because off screen I had actually collected quite a few crow feathers, and as a result we now have the simple bed. And what is awesome about the simple bed is that we have these buffs: comfy hunger and comfy thirst. In other words, if we sleep in the bed instead of in our normal lean-to that we had here, we actually have a slower hunger and thirst drain during the day, which is extremely useful, so you don't have to constantly eat and drink. And that is going to be very useful. We also have a second armor dummy here, which has the koi scale armor on here. So I have collected off-screen quite a few koi scales and sunken bones, and have made that as well for us. And then of course we've got a bubble helmet and our fin flops over here, and we also have a new weapon, the bone trident, that we will be using. So I'm just going to take our stinger spear over here and put the stinger spear on there, the rotten stinger spear, and then we are going to have our bone trident as our main underwater weapon. And that is going to be quite cool. So there we go, we've got a trident. Haha! It's quite a bit more powerful than our rotten stinger spear and then the stinger spear overall, so that's going to be, quite nice. And then lastly, outside, as a warning to all wolf spiders to not come and mess with us, we have got two wolf spider heads mounted over here. So last night, as I was preparing for today's video, I was attacked by 3 wolf spiders overall over the course of like 5 minutes. And all 3 of them were killed, and as a result I have now in total killed 10 of the wolf spiders. So I've been grinding a bit off screen to get everything ready for the house, and constantly was being attacked by wolf spiders. So if we go into data over here and we look at wolf spiders over there, you can see, oh, I've killed 11. Oh yes, I was attacked by another one as I went along. Now because of this, we now also have the Mithridatism level 3. In other words, poison will now really not affect us that much, which is very useful. Now, technically, when a spider bites you, it isn't poison, that is venom, but in this game, it does count as poison damage. And I know at least one of my friends will have a problem with the fact that it is seen as poison rather than venom. And you know who you are. Now, what I had quickly shown you here, these creature cards over here are very useful if you're planning on taking out a specific creature. So by clicking on something, you can see here their weaknesses and their resistances. If you attack them with something that they are resistant to, it's going to do less damage to them. But if you attack them with something that they are weak to, it's going to do more damage. So we are going to be taking out some mosquitoes today, and I'll be talking about them when we get to them. And they are just up the lake over there, to that side, up the shore. We will find some mosquitoes just behind that big old rock over there. Alright, then to start our adventure today, we are heading back into the water because we do have a quest to go find the sunken treasure burgle chip. And that is the thing that I couldn't find last time when I went into the pond here. I simply couldn't find it. I have had to look it up, but we should now be able to do it. So we've got our bubble helmet on again, and we are ready to just head down. Now the thing that we want is over here, past the T-Rex, right under here. We go in here, we will see the sunken treasure. Now this requires the mossy key there, it says. Now the mossy key is onwards. So you go on. We were very, very close to it last time around, but I simply couldn't find the right spot to go in. I constantly looked to the left-hand side there, but it's actually here to the right. We are just going to head to this side, past this broken lab section over here. There's that first circuit breaker I did last time. Now, if we just swim past the stream over here, and we go down under this rock, there is a tunnel. Now there should be some spiders in here, which is great because it gives us a chance to test out our new bone spear and practice our blocking. There we go. And it also recharges our oxygen. So we're going to take out this one as well, just because we can. And you can hear some more spiders up ahead. Remember, these are the diving bell spiders, which are the ones that are basically completely aquatic, or almost completely aquatic, by far the most aquatic of all spider species. And there are quite a few species of spiders that will be able to go underwater for some periods of time. There are quite a few fishing spiders, for example. The fishing spider will be able to dive underwater for short periods of time, and they use that to catch little fish and tadpoles and stuff like that. But what we are here for is this over here, the mossy key. So easy to find once you know what you look for. Once you find this tunnel, you just continue swimming down, and you'll be able to recharge your oxygen here as well with this pipe that is broken. And we are just going to head out, and that'll be this way. Now we are not quite done yet. There are two other things that I also want to do while we are here. The first one is actually to go get that molar that is right over here. So going down here, this is where that circuit breaker is, and then at the bottom here there's a soggy root as well. And once we have cut that, we have the milk molar that is in there. And going up here, since we are here, might as well do this. Going down to this side, there is a scabby in the corner here and a skeleton with some notes here and a suspicious snapshot. So that note there is from the toxicologist. That was an Ominent employee. Now Ominent had a whole bunch of spies, a whole bunch of employees basically spying on Wendell Tully. And the toxicologist here was trying to grab a sample. And then, before he could grab a sample, it seems that the lab broke and he drowned. Not a way to go. Now, what we are looking for now is somewhere in this cavern beyond this lab there, on the roof, and I think it's up here, there should be an entranceway. Now, here is a way in from the outside. There we go, that's the pond. So, a way in that isn't the normal old way that we came along. And here we go. Okay, it took me way too long to find, but what we are looking for is past in this little corridor going up here. This is what you're looking for, a little tiny little tube, and if you get closer you can see the screws opening up a hatch, and here we are. There is oxygen in here, so you don't have to worry about running out of air. And there are some more research notes here, and we'll get to everything in a moment. Now, the only thing that told me that there is something here is that little icon on the left-hand side. There is a lab here as well. The pond research note basically just focuses on what Wendell Tully was trying to accomplish here. There's a little scabby here as well. With his research in the lab here, trying to find a nice source of food, an easy way to make a lot of food. We're just going to grab everything in here that we can carry. And of course, there we go. We can open this up a little bit to give us access to this little scanner over here, the resource analyzer. And I suspect that is it. Okay, but this now gives us also, shows us this little opening that if you come from the outside, you can also access the lab from here. So there are quite a lot of different ways to get into the lab. I'm not sure. Yeah, this way would be locked if you hadn't opened it from the other side. But let us now, since it is basically nighttime, let us head out on a little adventure. Something that I have wanted to do for quite a bit, because there are two things I want to do. I want to go and kill those guys over there, the mosquitoes. But I also need a little bit more light in our lake house over there. And to do that, I want to go into the wetlands that are over there. I'll be with you in a moment. Right, now we have arrived at the swamp, at the wetlands over here, and there is our quarry. Fireflies. Now these are most likely the males, indicating to the females that they are here. Now fireflies are one of many different bioluminescent organisms, creatures that create their own light source. And they do this with a whole reaction involving a chemical known as luciferin. As I miss our first shot of the opening salvo, let's hit that little guy. Easiest way to remove them from existence is to use ranged attacks. If they get close, they are going to spray a goo on us that will make us slower, and our movement and attack speed, everything gets reduced. A nice little debuff there. But what fireflies will do is they will try to signal to one another what species they are and what the intentions basically are. So what will happen is they create these little light flashes, and every time there's this light flash, there is the chemical reaction happening in their body. And the chemical reaction, as I've mentioned, involves the compound luciferin, but it also involves magnesium. Now, I recently watched an amazing documentary on, amongst other things, fireflies. And what I never knew about them is that, yes, I knew each species will have a different flash. So they will have different... we are under attack by a water flea. They will have different lengths of their flashes. So one species will flash more rapidly than another one, but others will also flash while they are flying up. Some of them will flash as they are flying sideways. Some of them obviously will have different times at which they will be producing their light. Most of the light producing fireflies are what we call crepuscular, meaning that they don't actually flash in the middle of the night as these guys are doing. Instead, they will be producing their flashes, and we are under attack from this one of course as well. They will be producing their flashes round about dusk or dawn, mostly dusk. So just as it starts getting darker, they actually congregate, and then they are producing their little light flashes. Now, initially, the light flashes apparently was what they call an honest warning system. An honest warning system basically being an indication to predators that, listen, I am poisonous or venomous or whatever, in this case poisonous, because if you eat them, you will not feel too good. They are toxic. And remember, you can easily switch between different weapons pressing Q, as that will help you to switch between your recently equipped weapons. So if I press Q, I switch over to my crow crossbow, and as one gets closer, I will quickly be able to switch over to the lava blade. But while we are here, may as well get a few more fireflies. Now, the fireflies, as I've mentioned, yes, they will flash different ways and so, but some species will not be producing flashes. Most of them are bioluminescent, and at least one species is actually a predator of other fireflies, mimicking the flashes of a female of a different firefly species, and as the males of that species then comes closer, they catch and eat them, which is a very interesting thing to go and do. Yeah. And then one last little firefly. He is upset because he knows that we have killed some of his little friends over here. Some species of fireflies will also flash in response, and there's that goo that he wants to spray on everyone. That sounds so wrong. But some species of fireflies will actually flash in response to other individuals flashing as well. So if I, for example, flash, another one of my species will also flash in response to that flash, and it creates these waves of flashes going through the landscape, which is amazing to see, and I would love to see that one day. I love fireflies. We recently had one in our house. It didn't produce any light, it was just kind of flying around, but it was nonetheless amazing to see, and hopefully in a year or two, when our food forest is properly up and grown, and there's a larvae over here, let's just get rid of him. Hopefully when our food forest is properly established, we'll have some of these fireflies really living in our food forest as well, producing amazing little flashes in the summer months as well. And here we have our little spider heads, wolf spider head mounts illuminated by the torches. And in case you didn't know that, you can set your torch to be bluer all the way through to red, and you can set the intensity of it depending on what you want. And I've decided that this is probably a good temperature, and brightness for our little lights. Now, as I got up to Burgle, I realized that there's one thing that I forgot to do, and that is actually to get the treasure chest, to open that up. So I'm going to do that quickly. Let's just head down to where it was. So again, just past the T-Rex, you get to this root, this thick root over here, and there is the sunken treasure chest. And if we open it up using the mossy key, we have access to the Burgle chip over here, as well as a mega milk molar. So let's grab that and go hand it in at Burgle. Alright, now handing in the sunken treasure chip has resulted in, I think, these 3 recipes being available. Of course, the fin flops and the diving lantern, that makes sense. However, we are mostly done with swimming, I think, for now at least. So for now, I'm not going to buy them. We can revisit that later, but I am going to buy the Splatburst recipe, which is basically the Bratburst, which is the explosive bomb that we made with the red ant egg and the fungal growth. And that is then mixed with sap and web fiber to make it extra sticky and hold it all together. So the sap being a resin that you will get from the trees, whenever a tree is injured, it tends to make this resin or sap, a lot of them at least will do that, to seal up the wound. It also has antimicrobial properties, so against viruses and bacteria and fungi and all kinds of things that would potentially infect the wound. And that's a way for the tree to keep itself safe. But it's also very sticky, and we can, of course, make use of that. But for now, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me on this little adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you also learned something about fireflies in this little episode that we had. Until next time then, stay safe, and I will see you all soon.